What's up, guys? It's Tobin here. Thank you for checking out the channel. I appreciate it if you guys could subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. That'd be cool of you. Watch the Tobin and Leroy show every single weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much. Big day today in the whole Damian Lillard saga. He publicly spoke about it for the first time. He did an interview with Marc Spears and finally acknowledged the trade rumors. Not that he's been able to speak on him at all. I'm honestly surprised. Like, he really touched on it. He basically just confirmed that it was true that he did request a trade. But here's a little bit of Damian, if you didn't hear it. This was his talk with ESPN.
That brought you uncertainty about the future of the Blazers franchise.
I'm not going to speak on the Blazers. It's a lot of love and respect, but I won't speak on the Blazers.
It's well documented that there have been a trade request is to the Miami Heat. Is there anything that you could say about the trade request?
I can say that there was, and I would just prefer not to speak on the Trailblazers.
So there you go. Damian Lillard confirms that there was a trade request to the Miami Heat. So Dame being real about that and letting everybody know that there was a trade request, and then won't speak about the Blazers. And I do think that it's not surprising he's not going there, because this is basically what the Blazers did to go to the league and complain about this whole thing, right? Like, the fact that his agent Aaron Goodwin was already on the record saying that he only wanted to go to Miami, that they needed to have some investigation and statement, and that he was going to face future discipline should it go in another direction, tells you exactly why the Blazers would have, been hamstrung even more if Damian Lillard completely hosed them down. I would say, I only play the audio for you here, but I think if you could see the look in his face, like, it's a face of disgust. He's disgusted with the Blazers, and I think especially their front office, because he feels lied to. And I think that the whole reason that they have the talk that they did with him and make the statement that they do, it's got to be crazy that he can't even speak on that. I'm honestly curious when the Heat trade does happen, or let's just say it happens to anywhere, what it's going to be like when he gets to training camp. Let's just say he goes to the Blazers training camp. What's it going to be like at a media day? Is he not going to speak about the Blazers? What is it? Because those are contractually obligated media that he has to do. Now, they could still fine you, even in those settings, for official trade requests. I wouldn't say that I don't think anything is going to come with him confirming that he went to Miami, although you don't know. I mean, he could, the Blazers could make a stink again and say, oh, he's letting it be known that he officially requested a trade. Fine him. I think that, because I think there would come a point if they did do that he would just go scorched earth on him and then just say, you know what, if I'm going to get fined, let me get my money's worth. Because I think that it's being true to everything, not hosing anybody down from the Blazers, not doing what he could do if he really wanted to make a stink. But I think you could tell in tone and look like the guy was not happy. The guy's not happy. The guy's not happy with the whole thing has been handled. And the fact that this finally comes out publicly from him, he puts his voice to it. I mean, has really stayed out of it from every front. I mean, geez, it's been nothing but having Damian Lillard on tweet notifications has been an exercise in how much do I want tweets about Don Dalla, because it's been a lot of them. Because as far as basketball is concerned, there hasn't really been a ton of that. But to say that I could say there was a trade request, but he doesn't prefer to speak on the Blazers. But, Mark does put it out there, that the trade, it's well known on the record that you want to go to the Miami Heat. Yeah, I think that there was, something from Anthony Chang that said that the closer we get to training camp, that talks could reignite. I would find it crazy that they wouldn't. We are in a bit of a quiet time. There's people off, Spo himself is off in the Philippines right now, coaching Team USA with Steve Kerr and Ty Lue. So, you're still looking at about 5 weeks away from training camp and where we would be. But I just think it sucks that Damian Lillard can't be all out there and say what he wants to do, because and it's not because of James Harden. It's because the Blazers came out here like crybabies and basically tied his hand behind his back and said, no, you can't do the Jimmy Butler thing. You can't completely be honest. You can't. I mean, I guess he could, but he's gonna. What would the discipline be? And then I think from the Heat standpoint on it, probably the most place you want, because there's been so much hostility on this already, is just the fact that he publicly requested the trade, because you don't want to get into a spot where it feels like sabotage and it feels like all this, because then people want the trade vetoed and things like that. He said on winning a championship, he was saying, I would say the desire for that now is as high as it's probably going to be. It's literally the top of my list. When I wake up, I got to get up. When I wake up and I got to get up and go do what I got to do. I got to go train. I got to make time for my kids. I still got to lift. I got to do all these things to make sure that training and preparation is still my priority. Even being a father of three now and not one, I have all these responsibilities. You need something that you feel pretty strong about to stay committed the way I've been committed. It's as high as it's going to get. That's ultimately what I want to experience, and that's what I want to get done. And, he's not going to get that done in Portland anytime soon, when they're in the midst of rebuilding and completely trying things again and completely revamping what they're going to do. So it's not a surprise that the place that he would want to go is Miami. I mean, you look at all of the contenders. Even if you look at like the teams that would want him, Boston can't really do it. What pieces do they have to trade? Malcolm, they want to sit. We got Brogdon. Great. Awesome. And on top of that, the thing that the thing that makes the Miami such a great fit for him is you have two stars here who want to provide everything else and provide things on both ends. I think with Boston, like, you're trying to go into a situation where you already have one of the league leaders in scoring. You already have, two guys that fill the cup up a lot. Not that Bam and Jimmy don't, and not that they can't, but I think that both of those guys, it's not their number one thing. They bring everything to the table. The Heat has been looking for the bona fide go-to guy, end of game, shot clock ending, all that stuff, get difficult shots when things break down. And that's what I think makes it such a match in history with Dame. Not only the friendship with Bam Adebayo, I mean, we know that that runs deep. I'm sure the respect for Jimmy's there as well. But you look at other situations, first of all, like you have the knucklehead scenarios like Bill Simmons saying, go to the Timberwolves, which is like, oh, great. So Anthony Edwards may be closer to being the truth than Scoot Henderson is, but it's also like, yeah, but that's, younger pieces. Are they knocking on the door of a championship? Are they close to a championship? No, Dame wants to be on a place that he feels like he goes there, final piece, and it's all there for him. But for whatever reason, it's been looking, it's been such a headache and looked upon like he's some bad guy now all of a sudden. So it's interesting to see what this is going to spark with him officially being on the record and wanting to let it be known. Now, interesting, Eric Spoelstra, who mentioned this in the last video, had some comments about Nikola Jovic. The Heat, minutes before I record this, putting up a picture, meeting up on the world stage. And it's Spo, and it's Jovic, 2 scoops of adorable, Nikola Spovic. Shout out to my guy, Art God Savvy, for that. Love you, Marcos, Frog Boy. But it is a cool thing. Like, we have this dynamic of, the trade rumors are all there. But the big difference between the Heat and the Blazers is that Eric Spoelstra, still in communication, directly. He's already had direct conversation this summer. We know with Kyle Lowry. We know with Nikola Jovic. We know that Tyler has been in conversations with Chris Quinn and Octavio De La Grana. We know that he's been in communication with Bam. And then you have Dame's situation where it's like, I don't even want to speak on the Blazers. I don't want to talk about the Blazers. I don't want to associate with the Blazers. I got love and respect, but I don't want to talk about the Blazers. And that's the big conundrum that comes to training camp is like, yes, I'm sure there will be some weirdness naturally, but I think a lot of that stuff has been hashed out, and these are long-standing relationships that has had a lot of success. Whereas with Damian Lillard, he's going into a situation where it's clear he does not want to be there. Nobody on the Heat doesn't want to be on the Heat, you know? So whether it be Tyler, Kyle, Duncan Robinson, Jovic, all of them would prefer to be in Miami, to our knowledge. Damian Lillard doesn't want to be in Portland in the situation they're in. His first choice would have been, I want to stay in Portland, win in Portland. They don't want to win right now. And so they got to go into this camp with this Cronin, this weasel, and try and make that work if they even get to training camp. But we'll see. But with Spo's like complimenting Jovic and basically is just going about it, at least publicly in the media, is like saying why this is such an important summer for Jovic. Because, look, Spo, the thing that the Blazers and Cronin's not used to, this is the biggest media storm he's dealt with. And the thing with the Heat, nothing's ever going to get bigger than the big three as far as storm is concerned, you know? And you think about all the things Eric Spoelstra's had to handle. LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh, the most hated team in the league. Then you had to deal with a team in the bubble and then going far along in the bubble and being there longer than any other team other than the Lakers, right? Then you had to go on top of that, you know, fights with Jimmy Butler, you know, publicly on his bench. Then you had to deal last year where he was like as crazed publicly about competition as you've seen him. You're not going to rattle this man. And it's certainly not going to be some feelings, because you want to know something, in all honesty, the Heat have to deal with this stuff year in and year out anyway. You know, has to deal with Duncan Robinson having a $90 million contract and not playing. Has to deal with Dion Waiters having a $40 million contract and not having the role. The only guy who's really ever publicly made a stink, I guess two guys, is Dion and Hassan Whiteside getting long-term contracts and like publicly combating with their coach. So even if you were to hope for, man, the Heat, it's going to be a Molotov cocktail of awkward. Man, it's just hard to imagine it when you have a guy like Spo at the helm. He just seems to just handle everything so perfectly when it comes to this stuff. So glad to see Damian Lillard has it all out there. It's officially out there that he does want to trade to the Miami Heat, but you know, Cronin kind of gets his way of that. He can't make a stink because otherwise we're going to wind to the league and fine him $100,000. Boo! Weasel Cronin.